I've lived most of my life in Toronto. I grew up here, and have either of you ever visited Toronto or other?
I've never been further than
You've never been further than what?
Niagara Falls.
Well, Niagara Falls is nice. Did you come to the Canadian side? It's better.
Right. Yeah, we were on the Canadian. We went to the Canadian side, and it was better.
Yes. Well, that's fine. That's actually just down the road from Toronto as these things go.
I crossed the border, but I was driving alone. I had big plans to visit.
Oh, yeah. Montreal's lovely. I went to University of Montreal. I have a real fondness for it. Go back from time to time. Yeah, that's really worth a visit. It's the Europe of North America. Okay. It's really nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Great.
Well, thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome.
Let's welcome everybody. Welcome. This is the Jeanette Huffman Between the Lines podcast. You may recognize me as the co-host, Rich Kopacz, and I am here with one of my dear friends and fine actors who I use in the audio scenes. That's Leanne Hollenbeck, who will be joining me today as a special guest star, co-host, interviewer. And today we have on our show Kate Hilton, author of City of the Muse is her latest book, but she's got a couple other projects out there, which I've looked into, and those sound really fun too. So welcome to the show, Kate.
Thank you, Rich. It's great to be here, and Leanne, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and it's great to have Leanne here. I'm just trying to think. No, okay, so I remember Leanne wasn't. I hit record, and Leanne wasn't part of the entire session we did of acting where I never hit record, and then we closed out the meeting, and everybody went on their ways, and I was too embarrassed to call everybody back. I was like, I'll just let them know Friday, because we usually record on Mondays. But
technical glitches happen.
I happen to know, because I know Leanne. Leanne may be just as bad, if not worse, with technology than I am. We're such Luddites.
That is absolutely.
So yeah, if you
I break things.
Super. I'm not confident that you can.
Hey.
Ouch. Challenge issued.
I have seen how this is done, but of course, in a panic mode, you're like...
Right, now you got to do it on the spot. So I will just tell everybody that Leanne and I met in church doing kids ministry. She was director of the kids ministry, and one of the people in my Bible study was like, hey, you should try that out. You're animated and goofy. So I did, and that's where I met Leanne, and we had years of that, and it involved our whole families. So our families totally bond. Like, her family's my family. It's been like 20 years.
Our kids were little when we met. Now they're all grown-ups. So what the heck? There's definitely a theatrical bond.
Very wholesome friendship story.
So now we have Kate Hilton on. We're going to talk about her book, City of the Muse. Fantastic book. Just thoroughly enjoyed it. We've got a lot to delve into about this, but this is two tales going on simultaneously with City of the Muse. We're in 1904 at an archaeological dig, and we're at 2019 in Toronto and then Sacramento, California, with some scientists and archivists and researchers.
Yeah.
And there is some question about what happened to the character in 1904 who gets murdered. This is not so much a spoiler, as we learn this pretty much from the very beginning of the book.
Page 1.
And yeah, so we get to see a narrative of Helen Gardner, who is the archaeologist. Please pronounce that for me.
Well, I may not pronounce it correctly, but I pronounce it papyrologist.
Papyrologist. I think we were all saying papyrologist. My dog is barking until I let him in. Hold on. It is such a thing. All right, get in here, but then you gotta stay. He is so high maintenance. He is literally the result of when you lose a dog and your family can't do without, and they just grab the next, no matter how bad a fit it is. That's and we are the completely quintessential. You know, you see these memes all the time. Dad hated the dog and never wants the dog, and every photo is the dog and dad cuddling up and hanging out together.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yes. I just rescued a dog, actually, and he's here. He's here. He comes in. I'm training him up as my new canine assistant, but he's sleeping right now, which is really the job. I mean, to be clear, that's the job, is to sleep when I'm doing other things. But he's, we're still, this is week 6. This is actually his 6-week anniversary with us. And it's been a bit of a wild ride, but we're getting there. Yeah.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a French bulldog. He's a big, like very strong on the bulldog side. And and he's got a few health issues that we're just like trying to sort out for him. He's very like skin allergies and various other things. So anyway,
Heavens.
and he's very leash reactive. So that's a whole other issue. Anyway, I like rescuing dogs. You know, this is my third rescue dog and I kind of love it. And my last one, you know, was like a really special dog in my life. And he has the makings of that too. But it's the first year is
my dumb dog is a rescue dog.
Yeah, the first year is a lot of adjustment for everybody, and
Sure. Well, you've got a big heart.
Well, you know, they're very grateful, right? They just they're happy. They're very happy to be here, and it's very rewarding. We're all like walking around thinking the world is really complicated. What can someone like me do to make my little corner of it better? Rescuing animals is a great way to do it. Well, I do a few things, but it's one of the things that like the reward is so obvious and immediate, right? When you look at your rescue dog and what might have been for them.
Absolutely. Okay, so then we were talking, so we've got one woman, Helen, who she is murdered, but we don't see the murder till the end. We watch the whole narrative. Right. We see that she is dead when we meet her, but we go through her storyline all the way to the end till we see the murder, and simultaneously we see the people researching, and mostly the main character is Maddie, who is an archivist. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. You're doing great.
Okay, and for Toronto Museum or Toronto something.
Well, it's an imaginary museum, but it's Toronto Archaeological Museum. It's sort of loosely based on a museum we have here called the Royal Ontario Museum. But so it's sort of like an in-joke for Torontonians.
Oh,
we call it Trom, but yes.
That's super fun. Yeah, I always wonder that because I grew up in the Midwest. You say that about the inside jokes. I grew up in the Midwest, a small suburb, and whenever I would see big blockbuster movies, I would always wonder, do New Yorkers always point at that and be like, that's not on that corner, and that shop doesn't exist, and that stuff isn't there?
No, because it's actually filmed in Toronto. That's the secret about all the movies filmed in New York.
Oh,
all the New York movies are actually
filmed in Toronto.
Yes, for decades.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you see New York on screen, it's Toronto. Yeah.
That's funny. Good. You're learning so much. But speaking, I learned so much from your book. A lot of technical things. So we've got archaeology. We've got a murder mystery. There's mummies in this. First of all, let me ask Leanne, what was your impression?
So I loved that you had this parallel story going, but it made me curious just looking at your bio. Where did all of this start for you? Was it just visiting the museum or people that you know in that field?
Well, I'm an archaeology buff from way, way back. It's kind of a road not taken thing for me. I mean, I think when I was growing up, when I was quite young, like in the 70s in Toronto, was the time when the King Tut exhibit was touring North America and I think Europe as well. And so it rolled through Toronto in 1979 and I was young at that time. And I went and I remember being very excited about it. But maybe even more than that, my parents bought the coffee table book from that exhibit and it was 70s, early 80s. You had a coffee table and you had books on it. And to leaf through that, it was really a beautiful book. And I would leaf through it and look at the plates in it. And I got so interested, in fact, that in grade 6, when we were supposed to we had a public speaking unit. I went to public school in Toronto. And grade 6, you had to do a public speech. That was like kind of a capstone experience of elementary school. And, you know, kids do like why I like koala bears or my summer vacation. And I did Death and Burial in Ancient Egypt, which was a precocious choice. And so I offer that just as a demonstration of my longstanding interest. And then in my 20s, when I finished university, I studied an English degree, but I've always been interested in, I read widely. And I certainly, for example, read the Elizabeth Peters series and lots of other things about Egypt over the years. And in my 20s, when I graduated before I went to law school, a girlfriend and I went around the Mediterranean to see all the archaeological sites. We spent 6 months just kind of going around. We went to Egypt and we did a Fluke trip up the Nile and we, saw all the temples and saw the museum that's featured in the book, which is the one on Tahrir Square. They've now built and has finally opened this amazing museum Museum in Giza, which I'm dying to see. But the original museum, it's described in the book, the sort of wild kind of 1850s, looked like an Italian wedding cake kind of thing. And it was sort of a classic. If you've watched the Indiana Jones movies, it really was kind of like you go in and it's sort of dusty and like little typewriter written cue cards kind of next to these priceless treasures. It was kind of wild, right? It was like, this is really a museum from another time. It is frozen in time for like 150 years. It was very cool. So
when was that? What year was that you went?
I was there in 1995, 6. It was an amazing time to be there. It was really, really interesting. I really love to go back. Just opportunity hasn't really arisen. But in fact, my father-in-law spends half of his year in Cairo. So we keep trying to find a reason and time to go back. It's just, we have kids and dogs and it's like a long journey, right? So, but we will get back there. I've also been waiting for the Giza Museum to open, which has been like a 10-year thing. It's now officially open. Yes.
I remember that 79 King Tut craze. That was a phenomenon.
Huge phenomenon.
And up until then, it was dinosaurs. Everything was dinosaurs.
Yes, exactly.
And then King Tut hit, and it was Egypt and mummies. And, geez, I used to watch Johnny Quest on cartoons. And then, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark hit and really romanticized it. But it's full of mystery, fun, imagination, just a great vibe. So let me ride that. I'm going to ask both of you, although I have a feeling about Leanne. What's your favorite mummy movie?
My favorite mummy movie? My gosh. I don't think I have a favorite mummy movie. These are like The Mummy. I'm not even sure I've seen them. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, that is.
I don't think I've seen them. I think I kind of missed it. They came out at a time when I was just doing other stuff. I wasn't young enough to catch that wave. And then, yeah, I don't think I ever saw them, even though I like Brendan Fraser a lot.
We're going to get back to that and chastise you. But Leanne, what is your favorite mummy movie?
I loved all of the Raiders of the Lost Arks, but I would say The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
okay.
I will still watch that when it's on rerun just because it was fun and it had just really captured that.
It is fun. I didn't like it when it came out because I was expecting more of a horror movie, but it's really grown on me as a fun adventure movie because it's aged well. It's well done. And of course, my opinion is that they make crap now. So, I mean, that movie would rule the world if it came out today. But it's a top-notch movie. I know that the black and whites, the Boris Karloff played the mummy in the first one, and it's a good watch. The mummy is not running around chasing people in that one. He kind of has like just an introductory where he comes out in his bandages, but he debandages almost immediately. The next time you see him, he just looks like Boris Karloff, and he's up to all sorts of sinister goings on. But the one that started it, and I will recommend this, is a sequel to that called The Mummy's Hand. Now, just remember hand, because there's ghost, curse, return, there's all sorts. So you want Mummy's Hand, black and white.
Okay.
Totally fun. And that's really the first one where the mummy bandaged is running around chasing people. Did you ever read Bram Stoker's mummy story? Because that was one of the first literature in which the mummy is running around chasing people.
Interesting.
And it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it is terrifying. I've never been a big horror monster movie person. If you asked me a slightly different question, which was like the Egyptian stories, I loved those original Death on the Agatha Christie Death on the Nile movie. I like the new one, the Kenneth Branagh one. I really like those sort of period pieces of that time when Egyptology was having a moment. But it's in the book, I'm really trying not to romanticize that too much. I'm trying to talk much more about the colonial context in which that happened, because I think we all have sort of a romanticized sense, and the Indiana Jones movies play into that too, of people in fancy dress finding treasures, right? And I really loved those stories as a kid, right? And as an adult, I have kind of a different take on that. But there is something really nostalgic for me about those kinds of stories and films.
And your book is wonderfully grounded. We have an audio scene which is a bit more on the melodramatic side. And I guess I should confess this now. I did make Helen British.
That's okay.
Just for fun. So it is.
You know what I always say? Like, you write your book, right? And it goes out in the world, and then other people have an artistic relationship with it. And that's fine.
So good.
So you were inspired to make something with it, and that's fine.
I do want to touch upon that because we've talked about mummies, we've talked about just the general format of the two stories and on archaeology, and that Helen is a papyrologist. But I need to ask you, tell me, what is your book really about? Because it's not about the mummies, and it's not even about the murder.
No, it's about a couple of things. It's about women's contribution to Egyptology, and it is about the intellectual history of how classical literature was preserved and how we have access to it today. So it's really a book about ideas and how they get transmitted through time.
And there's a great relationship that you establish over time between Helen and Maddie, to the point where, while being grounded, and this is not a metaphysical book, it does touch upon that Maddie, when she gets to the end of her story arc, you feel it in the reading, sense of gratitude for what Helen has done and done for her. Because these are, I listened to your other interview about some of the character developments and character arcs, and I would say that the term that stuck in my head is that while Helen seemed like she had a plan and she had a goal and she understood her obstacles, but she was ambitious and confident enough she was going to handle those, Maddie seemed stuck. She seemed like she was aware of her capabilities. She had a confidence in her abilities, but it seemed like she was stuck in a place where she was a little disillusioned and a little disheartened. And the term that stuck in my head was that when she was confronted with this murder mystery and looking back at what Helen was doing back in history, it dislodged her. And it got her back on the path that she wanted to be on. And I felt it's a very rewarding, satisfying book when you get to the end.
Oh, good. I'm so pleased you feel that way. I mean, I'm influenced too by the fact that I spend half my week as a psychotherapist. So I work with people who are stuck all the time. Like, people often come to therapy because they feel stuck and they're trying to move forward and something is holding them back. So in Maddie's character, I'm kind of drawing on that experience and my empathy for that experience. We've all been there, right? Moments where we can't seem to find the way forward, and there's deep frustration in those moments. And there's some personal change has to happen to get us to a place that feels more spacious, like there's somewhere for us to move. But often it's something unexpected that pushes us in that direction. For some people, it's going to therapy, but for other people, it's a random conversation with someone or just an opportunity that they seize upon, just like kind of excites them and gets them moving. And in Maddie's case, it's just this clue, this curiosity, this mystery drops into her lap, and she is willing to risk things to go for it because she can feel that there's energy in it for her. There's something moving her. And that is what she's been looking for. It's not the mystery itself necessarily. It's that sense of movement out of the stuck place.
Leanne and I, when we met, of course, our professional relationship was she was my director, and learned very quickly that I'm a little hard, like I'll just go off the rails and it's hard to rein in. So I want to be very cognizant of that now, because I'll completely take this over. You had some questions? Was there something you wanted to address?
And some of them you've answered just in how you were drawn to the story and what you valued in it. But what I was pulling from it was that the frustration of women in the workplace and their ideas, their capacity is often diminished and sometimes even damaged. Or you get murdered.
You get murdered. Sure.
Stuff happens.
Happily, but yeah.
So, and I didn't know if you were trying to make a strong statement about that, or I was curious what came first, the interest in Egypt and the archaeological setting, or was it you were looking for a setting that helped tell a story about the struggle for women in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, women's perspectives and women's politics around women's place in the world are kind of figural for me. I have a perspective about that shows up in all my work. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily looking for a place to talk about that. Rather, anything you read by me is going to have a perspective about how women kind of make their way in the world and what are kind of the structural barriers that they face. But in this case, if you're writing about women and archaeology in that specific way at that time, there are just very few women participating, right? So that's just embedded in working in that time period and talking about women. Although what appealed to me about drawing out the historical context of women in archaeology is that because archaeology was a new discipline at that time, right? To be clear, men had been traveling to places with ancient civilizations for centuries, literally. Napoleon had done it. People had been doing it for centuries and like hauling monuments out of the ground and taking them back to the museums. And that's why we have places like the British Museum and the Louvre and the Met in New York, right? Because they're full of things that people went and took away. But around the early 1900s, it became a subject worthy of university study. Up to that point, it had been a hobby. Right. And then there had been this building interest in writing about it and thinking about it and codifying it and actually setting out rules for how one would excavate a site to maximize the information that you might get that wasn't just about getting the treasure out, but understanding the strata and what it told us about each layer of civilization and so on. And that was really a scientific innovation that happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so the first university department that was established in Egyptology was at the University College London. And interestingly, it was established with a gift by a female explorer and Egyptologist named Amelia Edwards. And if any of your listeners liked reading the Elizabeth Peters series, the protagonist in that, Amelia Peabody, is based on the real person.
Oh.
And Amelia Edwards was this incredibly complicated, fascinating person. And among her many talents, she was a very famous travel writer. So she wrote a book called 1,000 Miles Up the Nile, which you can read now. And some of the descriptions, colonial Egypt, I've taken a lot from her own descriptions. And it was a massive bestseller, right? She made a bunch of money off of it. And she started funding Egyptology initiatives, including a chair in Egyptology at the University College London. And when she founded this program, she insisted that women be allowed to participate. So right from the beginning, women were kind of on the ground floor in Egyptology and archaeology in a way that everywhere else they were fighting to get into universities to actually, if they let them in, they wouldn't give them degrees, right? And so this was kind of, Egyptology and archaeology were a place where it was brand new and women were allowed in. And they were allowed to participate and they were allowed to do field work. So there weren't lots of them, but they were equals, right? It was an opportunity. And so a lot of women made very significant contributions right at the beginning of the field. And so that was very interesting to me because it's unusual. It's different than a lot of fields. Yeah.
That's great. I have a couple of technical things that I'm going to ramp into something else, but my two favorite. There is a lot of technical stuff going on in this, and it's very informative. I did not know that mummies were wrapped in stuff that then you read. I just thought they were bandages. So that was amazing. And without delving too far down a rabbit hole, is that with every mummy, or is that just the most royal of mummy? How do they decide
most of them, I mean, the bandages, right, were made from papyrus, right? So they aren't really bandages.
Gotcha.
They're papyri. And so often, not always, but often there was some linen used in the wrappings. But then to wrap the innermost part, the actual flesh of the body was in these linen wrappings, but not that much. And then everything you think of, usually there were 3 layers, okay? So there's linen, and then there's a kind of soft papyrus layer that's somewhat brittle but is like shellacked, right? So it's hard. And then you have a wooden or gold or whatever sarcophagus outside. But that middle layer is, if you've ever seen mummies unwrapped, they're like Russian dolls. You have different layers. So that layer is all papyrus. And some of it is called cartonnage, and some of it is painted and written on, and some of it's not, but you can steam it apart. So when people got interested, it's like with the strata of the earth, the layers of it. When people got interested in the stuff that wasn't obviously valuable, it wasn't made of gold, it wasn't embedded with jewels, it turned out there was a lot of information there. And the same was true of that papyrus layer.
And you definitely touch on that. You definitely drive that point home in the book, which is great. Because you do get technical, but you have organic conversations that allow a layman reader to understand what's going on.
Good, I'm glad.
So I loved that we learned that back in the 1904, and then there's a bit of technology in the 2019 happening where they're looking at this scroll, but they're able to see what it has just through an imaging process, which is a very
this is amazing.
complex thing.
I was wondering, is that a real thing?
Yeah, it is. There's a guy at the University of Kentucky who has and his name is Brent Seals, and he's amazing. He gave me some of his time to talk on the phone. He's in this world of damaged and ancient scrolls and manuscripts and books. He's a rock star. He's a computer scientist, actually. But he's been able to do something that people have been trying to do for literally centuries, which is to read these scrolls. So to take you out of my book and how I found out about him, you'll have heard of Pompeii, I'm sure, right? Mount Vesuvius erupted, buried Pompeii. It buried a neighbor city also called Herculaneum. And Herculaneum was closer to the sea and was it like the difference between being in La Jolla versus being in whatever the city is near La Jolla. It was a beautiful, very high-end, ritzy seaside playground for the very wealthy. And it had these beautiful mansions, and one of them had an extremely extensive library. So Vesuvius explodes. We know all about Pompeii. Herculaneum, a lot of people got out of Herculaneum. In the 1700s, they found out that there was a library there, but all of these scrolls were carbonized. And for 300 years, people have been trying to unroll these scrolls, okay? It's the most valuable trove of classical literature. The metaphorical, burning of Alexandria, which actually happened, but we don't know exactly what was lost there. But people are very excited about having found a whole library of scrolls, but no one can read them for hundreds of years. And this guy can unroll them. It gets wild. It's like magic, what he can do. So things that have been damaged by water, by fire, he has developed programs where he can figure out how to take out all of the damage and move things from 3 dimensions into 2. It's really amazing. I had so much fun talking to him. The University of Kentucky has a website devoted to his work, and he's amazing. Which is why I named my character Brett, because I wanted to pay tribute to
it's very good.
It's an unbelievable contribution.
And it turns out, because there's a little bit of drama in good guys becoming bad guys and bad guys becoming good guys. And Brett, who I thought was going to be a bad guy, turns out to be a good guy. So you put him in there and you made him a good guy.
Of course. I would never have made him a bad guy, because this man is so generous and he's so humble, and he's made this enormous contribution to classical literature. And he's a computer scientist. I mean, didn't start his career thinking, unlock the door to classical literature, right? But he's been very inspired by it. And I think his work is just so cool.
My other part was more for the drama of it. I love that they get into the technical, but they've got to race against time, because now they found a new batch of mummies and Calvin Drake is all on fire to get everything going. And so Iris doesn't have time to do her stuff. So Helen is going to help her, and they get Nora. And of course, Helen's already been training Khalid. And so there's 4 of them working feverishly at this process of trading off what they can and can't do. And I'll tell you, I felt a real intensity when that scene was happening, because I could feel the tension from Iris and between what they were trying to do, and they pull it off, and it's a great scene. And the dynamic between the characters, that was really the strength of the scene. I would love for you to write another book later that said, I wrote this book, City of the Muse, but you didn't know this, but there was this 2-year period before Helen died where these 4 people went on adventures together and did all this stuff that they were doing when they would find artifacts and when they would find papyrus, and they would solve mysteries and crimes and have all these misadventures. I would be sold.
I'm really glad that you liked the dynamic between those characters. I felt a real kinship growing between those characters, and it's hard to, it's not a secret to say, we know Helen dies at the end, so it's hard to say goodbye to her, because you get close to her.
She was the linchpin, the driving force. She wasn't a wallflower.
No. I mean,
between those
I
relationships.
Wallflowers don't usually get murdered, I don't think. No, she was a very forceful character and had a lot of influence.
Good. I want to interject a question real quick. That was one of my questions about, because you talk about the strata of archaeology as we look at those different time periods, and the parallel of looking at Helen versus Maddie and their experiences. You talk about that dynamic, and there was only one man in that dynamic, but do you see, because when you're in a male-dominated industry or workplace, it's hard to strike the right balance of respecting and being respected. But sometimes you just strike a good accord with people. And I think that we are in such polarizing times that how do we guide this next generation in figuring that out, where it doesn't have to be a power play all the time, and understanding teamwork and understanding that regardless of gender, people bring different gifts and you can all maximize each other's gifts if you're not always trying to grab the credit.
That's such a great question. I've had an unusual number of careers in my life. I worked in publishing when I first came out of law school. I became a lawyer, and then I worked in major gift fundraising for a long time in the University of Toronto, which is the largest university in Canada. And then I'd had sort of enough of institutional employment and went my own way and was writing and raising kids and became a therapist. So I've worked in a lot of settings with a lot of different kinds of people, and some of those were more men than women, and other places not. But I've certainly run into my share of misogyny in the workplace, but also I've had really great experiences working with men who mentored me and helped me, and I've managed men who were wonderful employees. And so I've had lots of different kinds of experiences. I've worked with women in positive and negative ways. So I don't really have a sense of it's impossible to work for men or with men, not at all. But I do think that the idea of just sort of respecting the gifts that people come with and meeting them where they are is so important. And on a personal note, I've raised 2 young men. I was a single mom of 2 young men, and that was really important to me to make sure they weren't right. It's really important to put 2 young men in the world who were respectful of everyone they worked with and who could just work with everyone respectfully and kindly and contribute in meaningful ways. And so I do think it's possible. I see my oldest son doing that. He's working for a female professor this summer, and there's lots of respect and wonderful mentorship there. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So I think we need to try as much as possible to see people as people, understand the context in which they come and the difficulties that they may have had and the ways in which they may require boosts in law, right? There's a concept of substantive equality versus formal equality. Formal equality is you give everybody exactly the same stuff, the same opportunities, no accommodations, no special treatment. Everybody just gets the same. That's formal equality. Substantive equality is you're trying to level the playing field. Everyone gets what they need to have the same chance. And I'm a big believer in the second. You want everyone to have a fair shot, and you want to kind of know people in context. And you want to be sensitive to each individual person who comes in front of you. And we don't know everyone's stories. And it's not necessarily that they fit into a particular box or label. It's like everybody comes and they might need a little more help in one area or another. I have raised 2 boys who have needed accommodations for different reasons. And they've had them and they've thrived. So I just think it's trying to connect to the human factor. Part of the polarization that I see, forgive me, but especially in your country, it's not quite so bad here. Part of the polarization I see, right, is, and that I worry about, right, and of course social media doesn't know any borders, so that's something we worry about, is that it's so reductive, just reduces everybody to these kind of flat characters. And, you know, I think if you spend your life in literature and in the therapy room, no one is a flat character. Everybody is a complex, multifaceted being that has hard edges and soft spots and needs certain things to thrive. And those things are going to be different for everybody. And if we believe in a world where everyone gets to thrive, and that's the world of my books, I care a lot about the things that are getting in the way. None of these people, even the heroines, are without soft spots and hard edges. And there are certain environments that allow them to really expand and grow. And there are other things that really get in their way. I mean, Helen gets murdered. I won't do any spoilers, but it's partly her inability to read the room that gets her to that situation. She has a lack of attunement that appears throughout the book, even as you meet her. And people are always saying to her, you need to develop your sense of attunement. to what's happening around you, who's on your side and who isn't. And she doesn't really have that. As an autistic person, I'm quite sensitive to that. That's a skill I've developed over the course of my life, but she doesn't have that. And I am always trying to push back at this idea that people are one thing or people are flat. People are so richly complex. That's the human project, is trying to meet human to human in that relational space. It's a hard thing to do. It takes a lot of effort. And it's easier to just say, you're that kind of person. I don't want anything to do with you.
Right. No, that's really well said. I have one game before we wrap up.
A game?
And it is based. Do you have a copy of City of the Muse sitting in front of you?
I do.
Kate Hilton.
As it happens, there it is.
Read the opening line for us.
The opening line. Okay,
Yes.
You got it. Iris Wentworth found my body, which was unfortunate.
Fantastic opening line. It's so perfectly done because it's compelling and you can't stop there. You need to know, you need to resolve that. So it has that tension that makes you go further in it.
Thank you. I like the opening line quite a lot.
Yeah. So I'm going to read you some well-known books I see on Facebook. You are a voracious reader, but we'll see. We'll see how many of you guys know these classics. Some of them maybe you could pick out of context. Here's the opening lines. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much.
That is the opening line to the first Harry Potter book.
Yeah.
Very good. How about this one? When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only 2 things on my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home.
That's interesting.
And it's funny. It refers to it as movie house because that sort of already takes you like, that's not a modern.
Is that the Last Picture Show? I'm not sure.
No,
Yeah.
Leanne, anything?
On the Road? I don't know.
No, The Outsiders.
Very good. Yeah.
Spiders. Oh, good one.
Yeah,
All right,
nice.
you got to get this one. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Yes.
And I
that
could go
is-
on. It's a really long sentence.
Yeah, it's Dickens.
That is correct.
Yeah, is that The Tale of Two Cities?
That is
Yeah.
very good. This is my favorite book in all the world, though I have never read it. It's a fantastic opening line.
I know that line, but I'm not going to come up with it.
But most people haven't read this, and everyone's seen this movie. It's one of those. It's The
Oh.
Princess Bride.
Oh,
I actually love the book.
I got the book for Brian.
Yeah, I love the book. I have read it many times, but not in a long time. That's very good. William Goldman. Very nice.
All right, one last one. All children except one grow up.
Peter Pan.
Peter Pan. Yeah. Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Killer opening line, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good. So, where they can find, what are you doing next?
What am I doing next? Well, I write a mystery series.
Right.
The Quilling Packet series, that's
Yeah.
the first book, Bury the Lead. Widows and Orphans is the second book. So this summer, I write it with a writing partner, Liz Ranzetti. And Liz and I are in our edit, in a big edit this summer for the third one, which is called Put It to Bed. Amateur Detective is a journalist and
Former
a small
journalist.
newspaper. So Put It to Bed, I'm editing. And I have in mind another solo project, but it's in early stages. It will probably have an archaeological angle. I did a lot of
Awesome.
research for this book, obviously, and there's a whole bunch that the roads not taken in that research that I would love to do something with. So
I will second when I heard somebody say they want you to write about the Library of Alexandria. That would be fantastic. I would love to see that from you. I think it's interesting. I think your character from that other series is called Cat.
Cat
Carter.
Conway.
Cat
Yeah.
Conway. You talked a lot about people reinventing themselves, and those are your characters. Your characters are always people who have had to reinvent themselves.
Yes.
That's a fun arc.
I've reinvented myself more times than I can count. And my specialty as a therapist is in life transitions. I have a lot of curiosity about those hinge points in life where people need to become a different version of themselves. And
Yeah.
it makes for good fiction too. So
It does. Absolutely. Good. Okay, so where can we find your work? Shout that out.
find it everywhere. It's at Target. I'm just thinking about U.S. Retailers. Target and Barnes & Noble carry it. And certainly Amazon has it. And there are a lot of independent bookstores in the U.S. have it. And you can certainly order it from your favorite bookstore. So it's not hard to find.
Okay. Leanne, did you have anything to wrap up with?
No, it was great to meet you. And
Yeah,
It
great
really
meeting you
was.
guys too. Thank you so much for making the time and being curious about my book. And if readers want to find me, I'm on Instagram at Kate Hilton Books and katehilton.com. So if you want to see what I'm up to with this book or anything else, I'd love to see you on Instagram. That's my main social.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Good. I think that wraps us all up.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more of our episodes. Tune in again. We'll have Leanne do more voice work as we continue on. This has been Jeanette Huffman, Between the Lines. Stay connected, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to reading more of your stuff.
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Khalid, where is she?
Under, Mr. Dunn.
Down there? I was afraid of that. Hello. Blessed saints, girl, what are you doing down here?
Hello, James. Bit dusty for that suit, don't you think?
Entirely so. This suit is almost out of place as you are. What on earth got into your head to instigate such an exodus from your tent of scrolls, may I ask?
Well, that's just it, James. Nothing on Earth. But this papyrus came from under the Earth, don't you see?
No, then this poor bloody light.
James! You really do become a savage when you're out of your office, don't you? Very well, let's get back. I found what I'm going to find right now.
Thank God for it. You're only going to have an hour as it is to get ready.
Oh, please don't tell me I have to attend that tedious dinner tonight.
I'm not telling you. Calvin Drake is telling you. And since he is our prime benefactor, we all must go. It's a small enough price to pay for the privilege of this dig. Calliopolis may be famous by the time we're done, but no one else was paying attention or the money like Drake was.
Yes, very well. I shall do my best to endure it. I hope he's not staying for too long, though. Mustn't leave my work for more than a day.
Yes, about that. I'm afraid I may have some...
There you are! Did you find it?
No, I'm afraid not. I shall look in the south chamber tomorrow, I think. Quite possibly the missing piece became separated during 200 years of Roman occupation.
Oh, didn't James tell you?
What?
No time for that now, Iris. We'll talk tonight.
Very well. Come, Helen. I'll help you get ready.
Oh, I hardly need more than a few minutes, I think, after I rinse off this dust.
Great, then you can help me get ready.
You corrigible girl. James, where's Mr. Olson?
Don't you mean, where's Emmett? He's insistent on everything being less formal.
So he's told me, repeatedly.
He's taken Drake to the sealed temple, a proper demonstration of what the old treasure seeker expects.
But I thought that was already... Oh, I see what you mean. He's going to open it and find the mummies. Rather melodramatic performance art. Shouldn't Iris and I be there to add credibility to the scene?
It's not necessary. Oh, Drake isn't really fooled. But he appreciates Emmett catering to him for the sake of the press. None of them will notice that the scroll experts are absent.
It does seem rather frivolous, and I do feel trivializes our work, as if the whole thing is some sort of carnival attraction to Mr. Drake and Miss Alcott.
As James told me, they are the paying audience, Iris, and at least for today, we must give them a good show.
Right, now that's a toast. First off to my esteemed colleague, Emmett Olson, for his unwavering vision and unerring guidance in finding Calliopeus. Now, if he can guide me to another £2,000 to pay for the rest of the season, I'd much appreciate it. No worries. No worries, as long as we have finds like the mummies unearthed today, money will not be the issue. But between you and me, a ward against curses might come in handy. Where was I?
About to let us drink, you long-winded bore.
What again? I still have the good Reverend to thank. To Reverend Banks for sticking with me all these years and having faith.
We don't have to worry about curses.
Amen to that, Reverend. Lest I forget all the little people and their wonderful contributions to James Dunn and his magnificent team.
His team? Did you hear that? James Dunn and his team?
I heard, Iris. And technically, we aren't formally even on his team.
I hope James gives him an earful. He'd better, or he'll find himself all alone when...
What?
Oh, goodness. I shouldn't have spoken that. Please ignore me. I'm tipsy.
Finally,
Thank God.
finally, let us drink to the mummies, those ancient bound people who proved to be so worthy, even as they were in life, I imagine.
Drink up!
That was rather deplorable.
Ellen, I've asked you to do well. Never mind. It's understandable. Considering your position, I suppose.
Beg your pardon?
What I mean
Ah,
is...
Helen, you made it. Oh, sorry, Emmett, I didn't see you there.
You mean you didn't recognize me?
Well, yes. Not used to seeing you in anything but khaki. I suppose I must look just as out of place.
You do indeed. But for myself...
I think you both look exceedingly presentable, which is the point, isn't it? As long as we fulfill the expectations of our benefactor.
Quite right.
Yes, well put. James tells me you found something.
Really, Emmett, I hardly think...
Yes, I did. It's papyrus, of course, so hardly noteworthy to Mr. Drake and Miss Alcott.
Yes. Did I hear my name?
Nora, how wonderful you look tonight.
Oh, now I know someone's in trouble.
Miss Nora Alcott, let me introduce you to Helen Gardiner.
Oh, the papologist.
James, you left me at the bar. Oh, pardon me, Emmett. I'm sorry. I didn't even recognize you.
So I keep hearing. Nora, this is Iris Wentworth. Iris, Miss Nora Alcott.
How very nice to meet you, Miss
Oh,
Alcott.
what does he say about to find? Something besides that farce with the mummies, I'll wager.
Nothing's confirmed, so we thought best not to bring it up.
Actually, Helen already...
So you did find something? Excuse me a moment. Calvin, would you be a dear and come over here?
I don't think it's a good idea to get Drake's hopes up,
I'm
Nora.
perfectly capable of handling Calvin's hope. Don't concern yourself.
Ah, Nora, as always, I have missed the party, but you always find it. No offense, Reverend.
Not at all, my son.
Reverend, you remember Mr. Dunn and Miss Wentworth, but I don't believe I've had the pleasure, young lady.
Miss Gardiner, how charming to see you again.
And you as well, Reverend Banks.
How is Calliopolis? We're all agog at the parsonage to hear of any progress.
The Reverend has an unshakable faith that God's hand is over Calliopolis, and that it will make history as the first city of the Catholic Church.
I assure you, sir, you will know as soon as I have anything in that regard.
You're very kind, my dear.
My, I'm the old man out.
Yes. But they have found something of interest to us. Calvin, this is the papologist, Helen Gardner.
Let me reiterate again that absolutely nothing's been verified, and that it would be monumentally irresponsible to give what can only be at this point unsubstantiated conjecture. James?
Of course, that's unfortunately the case. We must be prudent with all our findings.
Invertebrate. But you found something. More accurately, Helen has found something.
Is that right? Oh, Helen, please do share.
It does put me in a precarious...
I'm afraid I cannot allow any unauthorized disclosure. Helen, Miss Gardner, I absolutely forbid...
Oh, a poem by Sappho, the 10th Muse. Not transcribed, not copied, by her own hand. I have authenticated it.
Good God!
My word.
That's my girl.
I need a drink. Something stronger than this.
I suppose I could do with something stronger myself. I'll be right back, Nora.
Make mine a double.
I suppose you know what kind of
Not
trouble.
another word out of you. Well, Helen? Now you've let the cat out of the bag. What do we do about it?
I'll tell you what. You and I and Helen are going to have a nice long chat.
And on that night in 1904, they did have a long talk about it. They talked about Sappho, about poetry, about love, about men and about women. But whatever plans they made were never to be realized, because within 2 weeks, Helen Gardner was dead. She was murdered by one of the people at that party.
All right, Ken, you're up. It sounded like he died.
He's like, go, laugh.
Is he okay?
Yes.
Is he alive?
I think I swallowed a pencil.
Oh.
James, tell me you found something.
Nope. It's James tells me you found something. just do it again.
Undermining women yet again.
Yeah. Making it about James.
Wait, what is Helen?
Helen is definitely British.